What a weekend of Warriors basketball, and it all culminates into one of the biggest nights in Warriors history. That's a bold statement. I stand by it. I'll explain why in just a moment. And the voice of the Santa Cruz Warriors, Kevin Dan, is going to join me. He was calling those James Wiseman games this weekend, folks. We're going to talk about that, about Draymond's return. Kevin, are you ready to go, my man?
Let's go, Cyrus. Let's do this thing.
Let's do it. This is Locked On Warriors.
You are Locked On Warriors, your daily Golden State Warriors podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you for making Locked On Warriors your first listen every day. We're free and available wherever you get podcasts. And today's episode is brought to you by Bet Online. Bet Online has you covered this season with more props, odds, and lines than ever before. Bet Online, where the game starts. He's Kevin Dana, the voice of the Santa Cruz Warriors. You can follow him on Twitter at Kevo408. You can follow me on Twitter at DogSurfRoadshow, and this program on Twitter at Locked On Dubs. Kevin, let's start with what you were doing this weekend. I would guess this is one of the biggest weekends of your life professionally, just because of all the attention that came your way. Give us and give Dub Nation the recap of James Wiseman's debut after being out for 11 months and just the whole experience you had calling these two big games, both in Stockton and at Chase Center.
Well, I didn't really think about what it meant for me personally, not to play the humble card, because all I do is think about myself every single second of every waking day. I'm the most self-absorbed person you will ever meet, Cyrus Dawson. That being said, I do think it was one of the biggest weekends in Santa Cruz Warriors history. I tweeted out on Thursday, this is the biggest day in Santa Cruz Warriors history. And yes, they have won a G League title in 2015. I was actually talking with a longtime C-Dub staffer who's now in the Golden State front office, Ryan Atkinson. Awesome dude. Former Santa Cruz GM, started as like kind of an ops guy in the front office. And he was like, I was a little disappointed in you, man. We won a G League title back in the day when I saw that tweet. I'm like, yeah, I went brand new on you, Ryan. But like, a winning G League title is fantastic. Don't get me wrong. I love the G League more than anybody. But getting the number 2 pick in a recent draft, who is still on his rookie contract, and it's not like an Anthony Bennett situation who was the number 1 pick and then got assigned to the G League like a few years after, when we kind of all saw the writing on the wall with where his professional career was going at that point. Like, this is still a guy who's only in his second year in the NBA, who's coming back from an injury and is very much in the plans of the Golden State Warriors as a centerpiece going forward. Like, this was a huge assignment. Yes, getting Klay to practice and scrimmage with Santa Cruz, the same with Steph Curry and DeMarcus Cousins over the years, is great. They didn't play in a game, though. And James Wiseman played in 2 games. And that's why I think this was arguably the biggest weekend in Santa Cruz Warriors history. So I kind of forgot the rest of your question, but to answer that part of it, that's what I thought about it.
No. That's a great start, man, because I could seg from that to your opinions on Wiseman. Look, he played these 2 games, and that is a fair argument. I guess that's a whole other discussion in terms of what's a bigger moment, right? Like them winning the G League championship or having the number 2 pick, and possibly, you never know, the difference in the Warriors winning a world championship this year playing for Santa Cruz. But look, Wiseman in both games, I believe he played in the 20-minute range. If he played 20 minutes at Chase Center, he might have played 21. Apologies if I got these numbers wrong on Friday. But I thought the numbers were fantastic. He had 18.6 boards, I believe, in the first game. And then he had the 19 points, 14 rebounds in the second game. Those 14 rebounds really stuck out. Obviously, it's hard to translate those numbers to an NBA game, right? But at the same time, when Wiseman's playing for the Warriors, the Golden State Warriors versus Santa Cruz, he's going to have Stephen Curry next to him. He's going to have Jordan Poole next to him. He's going to have possibly Klay Thompson next to him. He has a bevy of shooters and playmakers around him to take attention away from him. And I guess my question to you is, based on your observation skills of what you saw this weekend with James Wiseman, again, I loved it. I thought he played great. What was your overall prognosis, your overall review of Wiseman's performance, and how do you think that's going to translate to Golden State?
Yeah, well, I think, Cyrus, I'm not sure if it was on your show last week or if I was talking to someone else, where I said I didn't expect James Wiseman to come in and get 30 points and 20 rebounds in his first game in the G League. Well, he played 40 minutes over 2 games, and that's probably a little more than one game that he would play if he was off a minutes restriction in the G League. But in 40 minutes, which is less than regulation, he had 37 points and 20 rebounds combined. So yeah, those are fantastic numbers. And really, in both games, he got off to slow starts. He started one of his first 6 Thursday in Stockton. That was his first game in 11 months. And then I think he missed his first couple of shots, missed his first 3 free throws, turned it over a little bit, and he finished with 5 turnovers, I believe, yesterday. But as the games went on, he got more and more comfortable and established a really nice rhythm. After starting 1 of 6, he hit 6 of his last 7 against the Stockton Kings. And then after missing his first couple of shots, he ended up shooting 8 of 17 against G League Ignite. So, that's 47% banked in a 3, which he wasn't intending to bank in, I don't think.
I saw that. I know.
He still put it in. And so, yeah, I really liked it. And he mentioned yesterday after the game that he was really focused on defense and rebounding. And, 6 rebounds in 20 minutes and 38 seconds. So that's where the 21 comes in on the box score. Some people said 20, some people said 21. Well, yeah,
right.
If you round up, it's 21 minutes. He played 20 minutes and 22 seconds on Sunday. So there's a think tank piece for people who want to be get their kind of like hot takes on. James Wiseman played 16 fewer seconds. Can he handle the grind of an NBA schedule? I'm just messing around. But he had 14 rebounds and 12 rebounds in the first half. He had a nice little back and forth with Michael Foster Jr., who is a projected second-round draft pick this year from G League Ignite. Those guys were going at each other. I think Foster really relished the opportunity. And I thought Wiseman, for the 2 games that he played, he had really good kind of test cases, if you will, to get back to NBA to getting back to an NBA kind of setting, because against Stockton, he was playing against Neemias Queta, who was on a 2-way contract with the Sacramento Kings, the backup big there, played in the NBA this year in Emmanuel Terry, and Michael Foster Jr. is a second-round draft pick. And excuse me as I go out of frame because I have to
I'm not excusing you. Laptop. Unexcused. Kevin, I'm never bringing you again.
But I will continue talking through powering up my laptop for those who are watching this on YouTube. This is
me being unprofessionalism is just just intolerable. This is
I know. I have been banned from Locked On Warriors after today.
Absolutely. For my life.
But really, like, what I was going to say is you don't necessarily get to see the kind of bigs that James Wiseman did in his 2 games in the G League. I was mentioning it. I was talking with Dan Devone and Shamari Block on 95.7 this week.
Love those guys. Yeah, love
those
them.
guys are fantastic. Great.
Yes, they are.
Do a really nice job with their show. And I was mentioning to them just 3 weeks ago that Santa Cruz Warriors took on the Birmingham Squadron, and the Squadron, for good chunks of a game, ran a lineup with nobody bigger than 6'2". So it's not a given that he's going to be going up against NBA caliber bigs when he plays in the G League. And
right.
It just happened to be, a guy on a 2-way contract. His backup played for the Phoenix Suns this year. And then the next game against a guy who's likely to be taken in the second round. And also Amir Johnson, who played 14 years in the NBA.
Yeah, and that's incredible. And I guess you could say Wiseman lucked out in having some decent size for his competition in these 2 games. And I just love the spectacle of the Sunday game, especially because you had all the coaches, or a majority of them. Kerr was in the stands. Bob Myers was there. Some of the players and execs were there to support him and check him out. And we'll break that down a lot more. I guarantee one thing James Wiseman could have used to play even better was Built Bar, because these things are full of protein, 17 grams of protein, in fact, per bar, with just a fraction of the sugar. On average, just 4 grams of sugar per Built Bar, whereas your average candy bar has upwards of 30 grams of sugar. I made my first order recently. I got the mixed pack. It came in. Cookies and cream, amazing. The double chocolate, amazing. And what I've been raving about constantly with these Built Bars, again, because there's such a health value to them, and I'm a firm believer in you are what you eat. I subscribe to that adage. And if you're eating Built Bars, folks, you're eating a relatively healthy protein bar. 17 grams of protein in each bar results and a full feeling. You don't want to eat more after you have after you have one of these Built bars. As a result, you're nourished. You're not consuming more after that, which could result in fat and other negative health detriments. So just go to built.com, scroll down to the macro chart to get all those important pieces of data and information in terms of what you're consuming and putting in your body. And then go to built.com and order your bars today, because I love these things. I'm fully hooked. I'm in. Again, cookies and cream is my favorite, but you have a wide variety of flavors to choose from. And again, they're dipped in pure chocolate, 100% real chocolate. Go to built.com, use the promo code LOCK15 and get 15% off your order. Again, use the promo code LOCK15 for 15% off at built.com.
You are Locked On Warriors, your daily Golden State Warriors podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you for making Locked On Warriors your first listen. For your next listen, check out the Locked On Now podcast. Nightly recaps of every NBA game with analysis from our local experts is free and available wherever you get podcasts. He's Kevin Dana. Follow him on Twitter at Kevo408. I'm Cyrus Satzes. Let's stay on this James Wiseman topic for a little more. I know it's Stephen Curry's birthday. Happy birthday, Steph, to the greatest shooter ever in the history of the game. Draymond Green's coming back tonight. We're going to touch on that in just a moment. But this James Wiseman thing is huge. And so there's been some reports coming out. Kendra Andrews of ESPN reported that, according to her, there's a coach who said that they don't see Wiseman really in the big picture for this season, and that he might play some minutes, but they're really looking further ahead to next season for Wiseman playing real minutes for the team and contributing. You saw the report from Anthony Slater saying there's a potential conflict. Rift might be a strong word, but certainly two different viewpoints between the front office and the coaching staff, where the front office wants to see Wiseman. They want to see what this $12 million a year investment can produce, because you never know. What if they want to trade him and maybe he can hype himself up and increase his trade value, or maybe they see a guy that can contribute now, whereas the front office, and we've known Steve Kerr for being a little bit stubborn when it comes to playing young players and trudging them along more slowly than perhaps the fan base wants. I know 2 games is a very small sample size, and thank you for this huge build up to what I'm going to ask you. Do you think James Wiseman is ready to play? Like, do you think it's time for him to play for the Golden State Warriors? And I guess 10 to 15 minutes are probably realistic, but what are your thoughts on Wiseman playing now for Golden State?
I mean, I definitely think there could be a role for James Wiseman to play 10 to 12 minutes in the NBA. Like, what I saw from James Wiseman is, now Slater was there in Stockton, and so he mentioned that that Wiseman was kind of huffing and puffing, or maybe that's not the right terminology, but was getting a little winded at the end of each of his stints. I was watching that game on a monitor because we broadcast our road games remotely, so I couldn't tell that. So I'll go with Slater there. He looked to be running up and down the floor when I was there in person and Chase yesterday pretty damn well. So he looked to be, he didn't appear to have any like issues with that knee, right? He was running up and down the floor well. If he wasn't on a 20-minute restriction, I thought he could have played more. So I mean, obviously you're not going to want to overload this guy with a ton of responsibility at the NBA level. I was just reading some article, I forget whether it was Kawakami or CJ Holmes with the Chronicle, talking about how the coaching staff wants to keep it simple with Wiseman when he comes back. Pick and roll, kind of dive to the rim kind of stuff on offense. And then defensively, the thing that stood out for me was Santa Cruz. And this is something, again, that Slater was able to pick up in Stockton, that he was very vocal on defense, calling out coverages and stuff. And, that's stuff I wasn't able to pick up just watching a monitor. So that's really, being more communicative on the defensive end. He also had 2 blocks on Sunday, which was impressive. So all that stuff, points in the right direction. Now, you're not going to put him in the starting lineup over Kevon Looney. Looney's been playing too damn well. He's been an Iron Man this year. He's been great. But in a second unit role for chunks of time, you play him with Poole. That pick and roll with Poole at the end of last year was kind of rewatching that Houston game that he got injured, and saw some of the clips that Slater cut up of that game against Milwaukee. Like that was it was a nice little connection for two guys, one who was in their second year and one who was in their rookie year.
Absolutely. I'm honestly, I'm of the firm belief that he can contribute now. And like you said, keep it simple. Don't put too much weight or pressure on him. I actually think it would be great if he at least played the second half of the second quarter with Steph. I think that would make it easier for him a little bit, and then maybe throw the rest of those minutes in the third quarter, possibly, or however the coaching staff believes. But yeah, I really think he's ready. I really don't see any reason not to play him. I saw the same thing you did. I didn't see any huffing and puffing. I saw that what Slater wrote as well. I didn't get a sense of that, but again, I wasn't at Stockton either. But you were at Chase Center. You didn't see him huffing and puffing. You didn't see any signs of conditioning issues at Chase Center. So I don't see any reason not to play him at this point. And what I saw, which was interesting in that Bucks game on Saturday, very impressive win, by the way. I don't think a lot of people expected the Warriors to beat a virtually almost a full Bucks squad. They were healthy, they were rested, and the Warriors just took care of business from beginning to end. I really think Wiseman can come in. I don't, at this point, I don't see any good reason not to play him, and especially when Kerr you can tell he's reducing his rotation. He played 8 guys in that Bucks game for nearly the entirety of it until the late fourth quarter when JTA came in. So I don't see any good reason not to play him. And I'm with, I don't know. And yeah, it sounded like we're in agreement there. We're on the same page in terms of that. So the last I checked, Wiseman is out for tonight's game against the Wizards. We don't know yet what the next step is, or do we? Have you heard anything, Kevin?
I don't know what the next step was. I saw people like initially when they were saying, when Golden State announced that he was going to be assigned for 2 games, people like kind of started writing that, hey, he could return March 14th. I never thought March 14th was a realistic day, just because like that would be a back-to-back for James Wiseman. And like, if you know anything about guys coming back from long injuries, it's one of the main things that we've seen recently is they don't play 2 straight days, right? So if he's going to play on March 13th, he's not going to play on March 14th. And so I don't know if he's coming back March 16th or later than that. I don't. Let me check the official thing that Daryl Arata sent out today to the media. Wiseman's listed as still out on assignment. I don't know if he's going to Agua Caliente, or excuse me, that's Ontario, California, where Santa Cruz plays on Tuesday. But he is still technically assigned, is technically still with the Santa Cruz Warriors as we speak at 1:04 p.m. on March 14th.
Yeah, and I'm looking at the schedule right now. After tonight's game against the Wizards, where again Draymond Green is going to make his debut, and we're going to jump into that in just a moment here because that is huge. And then Wednesday they play the Boston Celtics. That's nationally televised at home, and then they have a weird, nice long break between Wednesday and Sunday, March 28th. That's when they play the next game, which is I believe is the spring equinox, and they're at home playing the Spurs, who are not known to have huge bigs that are notorious for causing issues. So maybe that's the game. I don't know. I wouldn't mind seeing him against the Celtics just to kind of give them a few reps, but it looks like it could be one of those 2 games. I'm just speculating here right now. I don't think there's anything that anyone knows at this point. If anyone did know something, I think they'd publish it. But I'm excited, man. Are you pumped? Like, are you excited to see what Wiseman can do? Because I'm thinking of this Warriors roster right now where they have 5 legitimate high quality shooters in Steph, Poole, Clay, Moses Moody, and I'm drawing a blank on the 5th one. I don't know if you could help me with that. I had it in my head. Oh, and Otto Porter Jr., who even though he's been struggling a little bit lately, is still a solid 3-point shooter. So you could surround Wiseman with shooting and or playmakers and slashers like Wiggins. Draymond is very efficient at attacking the rim. And those players can create fantastic opportunities for Wiseman. I still maintain, I don't know if you agree with this or not, that the one issue that with Wiseman, that if he can curb the fouls, if he can stay out of foul trouble, I think he's fine. I really think he can make a huge difference. And I don't know if you agree with that or not, but that's my Wiseman take.
And that's, it's still one of his rooms for improvement for sure. In the Stockton game, was that one time he gave up an offensive rebound. I think it was Keita of Stockton, gave him an up fake, and then James just flew off the floor a bit and then came down on him pretty hard. But also in that game, in 20 minutes, he committed just 2 fouls, and he had 3 fouls yesterday. So, I mean, not terrible foul numbers He gave up a decent bit of, his rebounding wasn't great against Stockton, but it was very good against Ignite. So there was already, I mean, I'm not sure if you say those are, turning a corner. It's one game to the next. It's not a trend, but it was certainly an improvement from one game to the next.
Heck yeah. I mean, I'd honestly be concerned if his numbers regressed in those 2 games. So the fact that he took that huge jump was a great sign. I mean, that's what you want to see. And the Warriors play the Wizards tonight. We're going to talk about that next. The Warriors are favored by 11.5 against the Wizards team that just recently lost to the Lakers, which says a lot given how bad the Lakers are. I got that information from BetOnline.net. It's that time of year again. College basketball is back. That means March Madness is finally upon us. From all the latest odds, contests, and player props, BetOnline.net is the #1 source for all your sports betting needs and information. BetOnline remains the best spot for all your sports scores, podcasts, and news this season. That's where Kevin Dana goes to put all his bets in because he's allowed to. I'm totally kidding. No, there's no Kevin Dana is not placing bets. But again, the Warriors are favored tonight by 11.5, and I believe the OU for that is 224.5. 11.5 is a huge spread. I don't know if I would touch that, but I do feel confident in the Warriors winning, especially with Draymond coming back. And we'll delve into all that and so much more in just a minute here. But it's not just basketball. BetOnline is your continued source for all your sporting wagering information needs, including live betting and your favorite Vegas casino games. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends and action. BetOnline, where the game starts.
You are Locked On Warriors, your daily Golden State Warriors podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you for making Locked On Warriors your first listen every day. We're free and available wherever you get podcasts. It's always a pleasure having Kevin Dana on the show. You can follow him on Twitter at Kevo408, the voice of the Santa Cruz Warriors. My man, just a quick side note, you killed it on these broadcasts this weekend. I'm not going to lie to you, man. I'm a busy person. We all are, but if you ever knew my schedule, people constantly raise their eyebrows at it. So I don't have a chance to see a lot of Santa Cruz Warriors games on TV. My focus was on you this weekend. And dude, you're a pro. Your time is gonna come. As long as you're happy now, dude, just keep doing what you're doing because great things will come to you, sir. I don't doubt that for a second, dude. You really are a high quality broadcaster. No, I'm just being straight, but you're very welcome. Look, today's a huge game for the Warriors, and today's just a huge day for the Warriors. I mean, first of all, the greatest shooter in the history of this game, Stephen Curry. Happy 34th birthday. You look amazing. You're aging incredibly. And given Tom Brady's coming back for yet another season at 45, Steph, just keep it going, my man. And hopefully we'll see you for a run close to that. But it's also Draymond Green's comeback game. I mean, he's been out since early January. It was literally the game that Klay Thompson came back on. I think it was January 15th or 17th. Don't quote me on that exact date against the Cavaliers. But that same game, Draymond starts just so he can be on the court with Klay and then bounces because of calf tightness, which we eventually learned was because of disc issues in his lower back. Very concerning. The great news is he seems okay. What are your thoughts, man? What do you expect to see in Draymond's return tonight?
Yeah, no, it's crazy to think it's been 1,005 days since Steph, Dre, and Klay have all played together in Game 6 of the 2019 NBA Finals. Not counting the 7 seconds on January 9th it was. Right. Yeah, I can't wait to see it. Like this is awesome. It's going to be just so fun watching them in concert together. And just like the first little run of this game where kind of all three of those guys are involved in a play, the crowd is just going to lose its mind because I was there at Chase Center doing stats for the Warriors-Bucks game. And when Klay got on that bender in the second quarter, like there is nothing that ignites a crowd like a Klay bender or a Steph just heater. Like when those guys get on from deep, like Chase or Oracle in the past, they just lose their collective minds. And so when you add Dre to that and you add Dre's fiery emotion and stuff, he'll be getting the crowd going. Like, I mean, it sucks to be the Washington Wizards, I think.
I mean, there's a lot that to to really analyze here, to talk about and praise more than anything. I mean, the Warriors have finally turned a corner. They got a 3-game winning streak here. I really believe when all said and done, we look back on this season, that Nuggets game on the road a week ago was the turning point, because we saw Jordan Poole kind of snap out of that funk. We saw the defense come together. We saw the youngsters really step it up. And I think we saw the positive effect of Stephen Curry's rotation, reverting back to what he's played nearly his entire career. One thing Steph said, which really stuck out to me, is that by going to that rotation where he's only substituting in and out once per half, you're giving the other bench players more time to play together and form a cohesiveness and form a chemistry and build a rhythm together. Because when Steph comes out of the game, whether it's late in the first quarter, end of the first quarter, there's a good 6 minutes there where he's sitting out. And those 6 minutes, other players are just having to work together. They're having to build something. And we're seeing positive results from that immediately. But my God, Klay Thompson, man, I mean, that was just a joy to see. 38 points, if I'm not mistaken. Phenomenal 8 threes. I think it was 8. I can't remember what his total line was. It was 8 for 10 or 8 for 11. But between him and Jordan Poole regaining his form, what are your thoughts on this new sudden trio? And I know Draymond Green is drooling at the thought of playing alongside Steph, Poole, and Klay, right? Like what are your thoughts on that threesome that's really starting to emerge as just this triple threat that I don't see anybody stopping? Like, what do you think about that?
Oh, it's lethal, especially if a team's going to deny Steph the ball as much as Milwaukee did, and you're just going to let Klay and Jordan Poole have oodles of room to operate. Like, I mean, when Poole's playing the way he is, it's good night, Irene. And thinking about a finishing 5 potentially of those 3, Draymond Green and Andrew Wiggins, like, that's lethal. And then you could add Andre Iguodala into that mix.
Oh,
I mean,
dude.
Man, like, come playoff time, if everything's humming along as it appears to be trending, look, I know the Phoenix Suns are 8 games ahead or whatever it is right now, 7.5, 8 games.
Doesn't matter. Yeah.
Like, I will take this Warriors team if they continue along this trend.
100% agree, dude. I'm legitimately thrilled right now at the prospect of that threesome being out there. Is that, like, when we talk about a closing lineup, is that what you see at the end of games? Like, provided Poole continues this consistency and continues progressing and advancing his game, like, obviously you got 4 pretty much locked in players to finish a game, right? You got the Splash Brothers, Draymond, Jordan Poole has to be out there if he's playing the way he's playing. Who's the 5th guy? Is it Wiggins? Like, are you dead set on Wiggins being that 5th guy, or can that be like a fluid kind of thing where it depends on who they're playing against and who's feeling it?
I mean, yeah, I think it could always be fluid. I don't think it's going to be a dead set finishing 5. You know, I think Steph, Klay, and Dre are the 3 constants. If I could learn the English language.
You're the play-by-play voice for the Santa Cruz Warriors, right?
Yeah, I barely know how to talk.
Teasing, dude. I'm harsh today. I apologize.
But I mean, like, Andrew Wiggins is like too good to not be on the floor. And yeah, all right, I know he didn't have a good February, especially after the All-Star break. Didn't have a good start to the month of March. He's still a really damn good player. He had 21 against the Milwaukee Bucks. Maybe he's getting back to form. Like, he's way too talented, I think, to not be on the floor in the crucial junctures of the game. Like, I don't care if he's not an alpha dog. He's a great number 4 for any team. Like, it's a fantastic 4th option on a team, or like number 4 guy. So yeah, I mean, it is really kind of like, I mean, there's, maybe 9 or 10 rotation players that they'll have for the playoffs, probably 9. And I'd say like maybe 7 of them are legitimate options to be on the floor to like end the game potentially. Mm-hmm. So yeah.
Yeah, one thing that I loved in that Bucks, and that was just a beautiful game, man. If you're watching that and you're a Warriors fan, you must have been loving that game and the whole rest of their night because it was a Saturday. But I loved seeing Kuminga finish that game. That's not something we see regularly. And he grabbed 11 rebounds to go those 14 points he had in that game. That is one guy that I think it's not a matter of when, it's a matter of if, in terms of him reaching some sort of level of stardom, if not superstardom. I love that. But you're right, man. If there's one thing I feel like we can deduce about Andrew Wiggins is that when he's the fourth best player on the team, he's solid. When you start relying on him as your number 2 guy or maybe even your 3 guy, yeah, you might have some issues there. I just don't think he can handle that level of pressure. Yeah, dude, we're stoked, man. Kevin, what's going on with the Santa Cruz Warriors next? Wiseman might play for you again. You mentioned a game coming up in Southern California. What's on the docket for Santa Cruz?
Yeah, I mean, my guess is he doesn't play tomorrow, but I don't actually know that one way or another. I know he is still currently assigned per like the official status report. And I have not seen the press release coming back. I'm checking my email one more time, seeing if something's come back about him getting.
Love it.
Yeah, no, nothing yet about him getting recalled to Golden State. But they play the Agua Caliente Clippers tomorrow and Saturday, and then they play the Salt Lake City Stars on Sunday. So with 8 games left, Santa Cruz is a game and a half back of the last playoff spot in the Western Conference. So, but the problem is there's like the top 6 make it, and Santa Cruz is 11th right now. So they have a lot of teams to jump. Some of those teams they have tiebreakers with, some of them they don't. So it's all about, they're 10-14. Realistically, 17-15 will probably get them in. 16-16 might, depending on who also finishes 16-16. Or actually, it's not everyone's playing the same number of games because they essentially canceled the first week of the regular season because of like the COVID call-ups. Teams are getting gutted because of hardship 10 days.
Right. That's right. So, I remember that. Yeah, the holidays. Yeah.
Yeah. So like it was supposed to be a 36-game regular season. Santa Cruz is going to play 32. Some teams might be playing 33. So it's not going to be like I think so. It's going to go by win percentage. So we'll see. But it's going to be tough for them to get squarely into the playoffs, but they are certainly in the mix.
Love it. I love to hear that. Again, I mean, that's our team, Dub Nation, man. I mean, you guys are in Santa Cruz, one of my favorite cities in the world. By the way, you mentioned that you're doing stats on Saturday. I'm always curious about this, man. Like how often does subjectivity come into play when you're recording stats? What I mean by that is like the assist can sometimes be a subjective number because it's if someone made a pass, but then there was like a number of dribbles and a number of different directions they're going, and then they score, then you might not get an assist, right? Is there subjectivity? Are there ever moments when you're keeping stats and you're going, yeah, was that an assist? I like that guy. I'll give it to him. Or are there very strict guidelines there in play for you?
So I should have been more descriptive of what I meant by doing stats. I was doing like what they call official stats for ESPN for the ABC crew. And basically all they had me do was call out when a guy was shooting a 3 or who the foul was on.
Oh, gotcha. Okay,
like
for the broadcasters. Okay.
Yeah, for the broadcasters. So I haven't like actually statted a game. That's not easy. I know that much. But yeah, no, this would certainly be subjective. I mean, ask the people in Salt Lake City over, from 1984 to 2003 or whatever it was when John Stockton was able to get some healthy assist totals. They were notorious for bumping up that dude's helpers.
That's exactly what I was thinking of, dude, when I raised that question, because like I've heard so many stories about, especially assists. I know there's a few stats where like you can kind of decide if you're going to give someone a stat or not. And yeah, that's notorious for in Utah, those stories. That's incredible, man. Anything else you'd like to promote before we wrap it up, dude? I mean, this is a great show. And again, we're highly anticipating Draymond Green's return tonight against the Wizards, a very poor Wizards team. I mean, you can make the argument they're the worst team in the NBA. I looked at their recent schedule.
That argument.
Who's worse, Kings?
Well, I mean, if we're going by records, like the Orlando Magic are like 18-50, the Pistons are like 18-51, the Houston Rockets are like 17-51.
True.
I mean, Washington has been really bad as of late. I'm not arguing with you on that. They started really good this year. They were like 10-3 out of the gates. Like They were hooping. It was Kuzma, KCP, Montrezl Harrell, Spencer Dinwiddie. It was looking good. And then, I mean, like, I don't watch Washington Wizards all that much, if at all. I just kind of follow the storyline. So I couldn't tell you what went wrong. But now I do know they have Kristaps Porzingis on their team. They traded away some of those guys. Dinwiddie's not there anymore. Davis Bertans isn't there anymore.
Montrezl Harrell
he's with Charlotte. So I don't know. I mean, Bradley Beal's out right now, so that doesn't help. Obviously,
exactly. So, that's what I'm talking about. Like you're right. They started strong, but they gutted the roster. I mean, Kristaps Porzingis is not someone I'm excited about. Is he even playing tonight? I don't. It would be interesting.
I think. Hold on. Let me pull up this email again. I have the official who's out.
All right.
Porzingis is playing, but Beal's out with that left wrist surgery. He's the only rotation player that's not playing tonight for them.
Okay.
Hold on. Let me just pull up their kind of. You look at their starting five. Porzingis, their possible starters, KCP, Kuzma, and Porzingis for sure are legit starters. Corey Kispert's a rookie. Raul Neto is a solid backup point guard, but he's forced into kind of a starting role. Rui Hachimura, I like a lot. Thomas Bryant, I've been a big fan of. Daniel Gafford had a really nice end to last season. Ish Smith, who doesn't love Ish Smith, right? 12 NBA teams. He needs one more to 13. Set the record.
Should be 13 though, because he played for the same team twice. If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah. So I think this is his second stint with the Wizards, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
But yeah, no. So I don't know. I tend to like a lot more guys on rosters than most people do because a lot of guys have gone through the G League.
Right.
At the back end of spots, and people be like, "Oh, who the hell is this?" And I'm like, "Oh yeah, this dude was awesome in the G League." So like, all of a sudden, that was a soft spot in my heart. So like, take what I say with a grain of salt.
Fair enough.
Finally, I guess if I wanted to pub anything, first off, I had to say I really enjoy the Sharks shirt that you're wearing as a San Jose native.
Man.
Yes, it touches my soul.
Former season ticket holder right here. Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, nice. Yeah,
Yes,
I barely get a chance to watch hockey because it's during basketball season.
Same.
I love the Sharks. I love the Quakes. Anything that's San Jose. We should have the A's right now, but the San Francisco Giants were very stubborn about.
Dude, don't get me started on that. That pisses me off to pisses me off to no end.
Not get me started on that.
On the Giants, yes. Especially when the A's came through for them to keep them here in the Bay Area.
Yeah, they should be the St. Petersburg Giants, by the way. St. Petersburg, Florida. Yeah, but hey, you're welcome. Anyways, and then also, I meant to say, the transition into Build Bars with James Wiseman was, I almost started laughing. That was fantastic.
Thanks, sir. Not as good as your calls, man. But thank you, sir. Not as good as your call, dude. You're a pro, man. Like honest to God, when I was because I've heard you on the radio a bunch, especially when you filled in for Tim Roy. And then when I turned on the games, at first I'm like, that's not Kevin Dana. Did they like what's going on here? And then I heard your partner in crime, and I'm like, okay. And then I had to wait until the camera focused on you before I was like, oh my God, that's him. Like, you're a pro's pro, my man. It's the Warriors are in good hands for a long time with their broadcast team. That's all I have to say about that. Continue on, though, man, please.
I was just going to say, people say that I have a different voice when I'm on the air. I don't think about it. And, like, that makes me, when I feel like I can tell when I hear broadcasters put on a different voice for the broadcast. I'm like, I hate when people have broadcast voice. So I'm like, oh, am I doing the same thing? Like, I literally don't think about it.
No, I don't know. Because, like, for example, like I was the creative director for KNBR for a number of years. And that involved me doing like a lot of the reads for promos and for, re-introing shows and stuff like that. And I'd have to do the broadcaster voice for that. Like Pete, that's like people would go to me and go, that's you. No, yours is different. You just suddenly just really like change gears into like pro broadcaster mode, not so much in your voice, but just in your delivery and your articulation of like player names. And I was very impressed, man. Like we talk casually here, right? But then when you're calling games, like you're literally okay. I'm going to be a pro NBA play-by-play broadcaster now, and it totally translates. And I'm like I said, man, the Warriors are in great hands with you because if and when Tim or Fitz or any of these guys decide to hang it up, there's no problem. Kevin Dana, come right up. It's your turn. It's like there's nothing for them to worry about. So
there's nothing given in life. I wouldn't pencil me in to be the replacement.
But I would. But anyways, yeah.
Cross that bridge if it ever comes. Those guys got
Fair
a lot
enough.
of broadcasting left in them. So
True. That is
they're
true.
not retired. I mean, if I were them, I'd be broadcasting until I was 85 or 90. So, but that's just me. So
I love it, man. We'll do that regardless, man, because the Bay Area loves you, and you're doing a phenomenal job. And obviously, I love you coming on here. And that's the end of the suck off between us, folks. And so Kevin, again, you can follow Kevin Dan on Twitter at Kevo408. You can follow the team he calls the Santa Cruz Warriors at G League Warriors. And again, I love having you on. I'm sure we'll have you on again soon. And for Dub Nation, man, this is a big game tonight. Draymond Green returns. What is your prediction before we wrap things up?
Prediction for the game, final score. Let's see. They beat the Bucks 122-109. I'm going to say similar score. I'm going to say 124-108 Golden State tonight.
I love it. That means they cover the spread of 11.5. That means the over's covered. Kevin Dana doesn't bet, folks, but that's some insight for you right there.
Thank you. He could, though.
Because it's fun, man. Yeah. It is fun. Thanks for making Locked On Warriors your first listen every day. Dieter Kurtenbach joins me tomorrow. We're going to recap that Wizards game and start previewing the Celtics. Now make your second listen Locked On NBA. Locked On experts covering the biggest stories around the NBA every Monday through Friday in less than 30 minutes. It's free and available wherever you get podcasts. Kevin, thank you so much again, sir. We'll have you on again soon. Again, follow Kevin Dana on Twitter at Kevo408. You can follow me on Twitter at DogSurfRoadshow and this program on Twitter at Locked On Dubs. Take care, everyone. Thanks, Kevin. Later.
Cool. Thanks, Cyrus.
Thank you.